winds swept through the dry, arid landscape of the Baja California peninsula, carrying with them the salty tang of the nearby sea. In the early 16th century, the Pericu tribe thrived in this rugged land, living a lifestyle shaped by the interplay of desert and ocean. They were a people of resilience and adaptability, whose customs, language, and unique characteristics made them stand apart from their neighbors. When the Spanish first encountered the Pericu in 1535, they were both astonished and perplexed by this enigmatic tribe. The Pericu called the southern tip of Baja California home, a place where the ocean embraced the desert in a harsh but striking harmony. Their land was a terminus of sorts, cut off from the mainland by 800 miles of inhospitable terrain and surrounded on three sides by the sea. This isolation had forged a tribe uniquely adapted to its environment. The Pericu were hunter-gatherers, relying heavily on both the land and the sea for sustenance. By day, the men hunted deer, rabbits, and small game in the desert, using bows, arrows, and atlatls. Others took to the waters on wooden rafts propelled by double-bladed paddles, diving expertly for fish and shellfish. Women and children collected cactus fruits, agave, and pitahaya, their nimble fingers harvesting the desert's sparse offerings. This seamless blend of maritime and terrestrial resourcefulness defined their lives. Their dwellings were temporary, reflecting their nomadic lifestyle. In the cooler months, they sought shelter in caves or rock shelters. When the weather was warm, they slept beneath the stars, their communal campfires warding off the chill of the desert nights. Life was simple, dictated by the rhythm of the seasons and the abundance, or scarcity, of nature's gifts. The Pericu stood out, even among the diverse tribes of the Americas. Taller than their neighbors, they possessed long, narrow skulls, an anatomical feature that baffled early anthropologists. These physical traits suggested an origin distinct from the Siberian ancestors of most Native Americans. Indeed, genetic research has linked the Pericu to populations in southern Asia, Australia, and the Pacific Rim, hinting at an ancient migratory journey across the sea. Their customs reflected this uniqueness. They often went naked, save for adornments like necklaces of shells, berries, or black pearls burned to a lustrous sheen. Their bodies bore intricate paintings, geometric patterns drawn with pigments from the earth. The women wore modest skirts woven from grass or animal hides and adorned themselves with body paint and jewelry. Both men and women smoked tobacco, their pipes carved from wood or stone, the smoke spiraling into the desert sky. Polygamy was a common practice, and kinship bonds were tightly woven into their social fabric. The Pericu were known to defend their territory fiercely, often clashing with their northern neighbors, the Guaycura. Yet within their own tribe, they lived in harmony, sharing the bounty of their hunts and harvests. The year was 1535, when Hernan Cortes's ships appeared on the horizon, their sails billowing like ghostly specters. To the Pericu, the arrival of the Spanish marked the beginning of a profound and irreversible change. The Spanish mariners, hardened by years of conquest and exploration, were stunned by what they found. In their journals, the Spanish wrote of the Pericu with a mix of fascination and condescension. The tribe's unique language, quick and melodic, caught their attention. They dubbed the people Pericus, meaning parakeets, because their speech resembled the chatter of the colorful birds. The Spanish were also perplexed by the tribe's physical distinctiveness, noting their height and the shape of their skulls. These features, coupled with the Pericu's expertise in maritime navigation, suggested to the Spaniards that they were not like other indigenous peoples they had encountered in the region. The Pericu's reliance on the sea was particularly striking. Spanish accounts marveled at the tribe's skillful use of wooden rafts and harpoons. The men paddled their rafts with precision, diving into the waters to emerge with fish and shellfish clutched in their hands. Free diving appeared second nature to them, a trait confirmed by their skulls, which bore evidence of adaptation to underwater pressures. The language of the Pericu was unlike any other on the peninsula. Neighboring tribes referred to them as edues, meaning people with a different language. Though some early Spanish observers speculated a connection to the Guaycura language, this theory proved tenuous at best. Today, only a handful of words and place names survive, tantalizing fragments of a tongue that has long since vanished. This linguistic mystery adds to the Pericu's aura of isolation and antiquity. Some researchers believe their language, like their skulls, may have ties to populations in the Pacific Rim. further supporting the theory of an ancient transoceanic migration. The Pericus share cranial morphology with ancient fossil remains from Argentina and Brazil. The Yagan of Tierra del Fuego, whose closest Amerindian relatives are the Pericus of Baja and the Lagoa Santa of Brazil, possess mitochondrial haplogroup D4H3A, has a coastal distribution along the Pacific Ocean, from Alaska to California and Tierra del Fuego. In 1889, another anthropologist claimed that, quote, some members of the Indian race had come by sea to America from Melanesia. In fact, a work on the Pericus, which was published in 1909, shows a true blood relationship between the Pericus, the race of Lagoa Santa, and the Melanesians. Furthermore, the Peñon woman, who also has been noted to share similarities with Melanesians, one of the America's oldest human remains, was discovered in Mexico City in 1959. Archaeologists radiocarbon-dated Peñon woman to over 12,750 years. Beyond their linguistic and physical differences, the Pericu held to a set of customs deeply tied to their environment. Their rock art remains a testament to their creative spirit. Across the caves and cliffs of Baja California, intricate paintings depict scenes of life and myth. One particularly striking motif shows a serpent with a deer's head and a forked tail, slithering among figures of humans and animals. This imagery bears a striking resemblance to Aboriginal art from northern Australia, hinting at shared roots. The Pericu had a spiritual connection to the land and sea. They revered the elements that sustained them, the sun that warmed their backs, the waters that fed them, and the desert that tested their resolve. Tobacco played a role in their rituals, its smoke a bridge between the physical and spiritual realms. When Hernán Cortés and his men first encountered the Pericu, their descriptions reflected the lens of European fascination, surprise, and European culture in the Middle Ages. To the Spanish, the Pericu were striking, not only because of their physical appearance, but also because of how they dressed, or, as they might have thought, how they did not. The arid landscape of Baja California shaped their lifestyle and attire, creating a functional and tribally significant aesthetic that was both practical and symbolic. The Pericu were tall and slender, with a build that spoke of an active outdoor life. Their long, narrow skulls, dolichocephalic in scientific terms, would have made them look very distinctive and exotic to the Spanish. This cranial shape was a natural feature, though some early Spanish accounts speculated about cranial modification, a practice seen in other indigenous tribes. These features, coupled with their strong, sun-kissed skin, made the women appear statuesque and almost regal. Their hair was long and straight, cascading down their backs or tied into practical styles for work. Adorned with natural decorations such as feathers, small shells, or fibers, their hairstyles were both utilitarian and expressive, reflecting their roles within the tribe and their connection to the natural world. Their faces were often painted with patterns of ash or pigments derived from local clays and plants. These markings, which might have seemed foreign or intimidating to the Spanish, carried deep meaning. Perhaps they symbolized stages of life, marital status, or participation in rituals. The Spanish, with their rigid expectations of feminine modesty, saw the confident bearing of these women as both captivating and unnerving. The Pericu women dressed minimally, as dictated by the hot, arid climate. The women typically wore skirts made from woven grasses, animal hides, or agave fibers. These skirts were tied at the waist and often left the upper body uncovered, a sight that would have been scandalous to the Spanish, but unremarkable within the Pericu's tribal context. Jewelry was a significant part of their appearance. Necklaces, bracelets, and earrings made from blackened pearls, seashells, and bone were common, and the women took great pride in these adornments. Some of the most striking pieces were crafted from fish bones or the teeth of sea creatures, connecting the women to their maritime environment. These ornaments not only enhanced their beauty, but also carried symbolic meanings tied to status, family, or spiritual beliefs. In the cooler months, they draped themselves in animal pelts for warmth, though their lifestyle in the temperate coastal region rarely necessitated heavy clothing. The Spanish, accustomed to layers of fabric and rigid norms around dress, viewed this simplicity as a lack of refinement. Yet, for the Pericu, their attire was perfectly adapted to their environment and daily lives. To the Spanish chroniclers, the Pericu women were both alien and alluring. Their minimal clothing and painted bodies presented a stark contrast to the heavily dressed and tightly controlled European women the Spanish knew. In their journals, the conquistadors described the women as beautiful in their own way. Tall, graceful, and confident, with an ease of movement that came from a lifetime of physical labor and connection to the natural world. The Spanish were particularly struck by the women's independence. Pericu women participated actively in the tribe's economy, gathering food, tending to children, and contributing to communal well-being. Their ability to harvest cactus fruit, weave fibers, and manage resources demonstrated a level of autonomy that challenged the Spanish understanding of the world. At the same time, the Spanish viewed the women through a patriarchal and colonial lens, often reducing them to symbols of innocence or savagery. Some accounts romanticized their beauty, while others criticized their perceived lack of modesty, failing to recognize the norms and environmental factors that shaped their appearance and attire. The Pericu women likely played a crucial role in shaping the first impressions the Spanish had of the tribe. Their painted faces, intricate jewelry, and confident bearing would have left a strong visual impact on the conquistadors. These women were not passive observers of their world, but active participants in it, embodying the resilience and adaptability of their people. The Spanish may have been both drawn to and unsettled by the women's natural beauty and the ease with which they moved through life. For the Pericu, their appearance was not an attempt to attract or impress others, but an authentic reflection of their identity and place in the world. For the Pericu, women were not only gatherers and caretakers, but also custodians of tribal knowledge. Through them, traditions such as basket weaving, food preparation, and oral storytelling were passed down to the next generation. Their body paint, jewelry, and adornments likely carried meanings tied to these roles, connecting them to their ancestors and the environment. Pericu women would have played a central role in spiritual practices, as women often do in hunter-gatherer societies. Their painted bodies, jewelry, and participation in rituals might have been acts of devotion to the forces that governed their harsh yet bountiful world. The Spanish, however, lacked the framework to understand this, interpreting their customs as either primitive or exotic. The Spanish encounters with the Pericu women were fleeting, but left an indelible mark in their accounts of the New World. For the Pericu, these interactions would have signaled the beginning of a slow unraveling of their way of life. Yet for a brief moment, the Pericu stood as symbols of a people at the crossroads of history, confident, resilient, and deeply connected to their land and tribe. Their unique appearance, customs, and way of life serve as a poignant reminder of the complexity of the Americas before contact. The Pericu women, with their painted faces and woven skirts, their laughter echoing over the desert dunes and sea cliffs, remain a testament to the beauty of a world lost to time. For all their resilience, within 2 centuries of contact, their numbers had dwindled dramatically. By the mid-18th century, they were a shadow of their former selves, their population decimated by epidemics and assimilation into other groups. The once proud tribe that had fished the waters of Baja and painted its caves with stories of life and myth was absorbed into history, leaving behind only bones, artifacts, and unanswered questions. Today, the Pericu stand as a testament to the complexity of the America's first inhabitants. Their story challenges conventional narratives of migration and settlement, suggesting that the peopling of the New World was far more intricate than once believed. In the rock art of Baja California, in the remnants of their tools and shelters, and in the tantalizing fragments of their language, the Pericu live on, a reminder of a world long gone but not forgotten. In the journals of the Spanish explorers, one can sense a grudging respect for these people who thrived in a land so unforgiving. The Pericu were a people of the sea and the desert, of resilience and ingenuity, whose story adds a vital chapter to the history of the Americas. Thank you for watching, and please let us know what you think in the comments.